I'm back again with the next part of the Pokemon Elemental rundown. But before I get into that, it's been a year since I've been doing my blogs, and not many people have been viewing them, which is okay. If you leave any comments on any of my stuff, or ask any questions, I will answer them or reply to them. But, if you decide to be ignorant, I will point that out. So, I have noticed that with a lot of the things on YouTube and the internet and whatnot, there has been a lot of editing, and obvious editing, including mine. It's just like, it cuts. It's like the person will be over here, all the way over here, and it's just obvious editing, but necessary. Personally, with me, I'd be talking, I have my hands up here, it's only they're gone. Because a lot of times you cannot go back and re-say what you're doing, because a lot of the times it's on the fly. I mean, got a little bit of a script, but there's just stuff you cannot repeat. It's like having a conversation and you're just like dozed off or part of it. It's like, alright, I go into this restaurant, you see, and I meet this girl, and she's really, really pretty, so we start talking. Our eyes contact as we drink the 5th drink, and I start talking about my ex. Things just start getting heavy. Just hold on. Yeah, you know how it is. So anyway, on to my 2nd gen Elemental rundown. And now this is where it's starting to get to the point, because like I said earlier, I am doing my own game. I do not know whether it's going to be a video game or just a tabletop role-playing game yet. It'd be cool if it was both. But anyway, with 2nd gen, it was the actual sequel, because the 1st gen had Yellow, which the only thing that was different was you start with Pikachu just like at the show. Which kind of bothered me, because in the Japanese version it was red and green, which is why we have Fire Red and Leaf Green for the remakes. Gold and Silver were the very first actual sequel to the game. And they've introduced new Pokemon, along with evolutions of the old ones, and plus baby types. So, I kind of felt the baby types to be pointless. I mean, it was cool. It's like, oh, you get a Magmar, and now you have them have sex, and they have Magby. You breed your Pokemon, and you get the new baby forms, and that, it's like, oh, they're so cute! But with that, they're a bit weaker, too. Quite a bit weaker. And only a few of them had the thing where you had to have them like you in order for them to evolve, so you could just have them on your team in the back, give them a little charm to play with, and they'll like you, and then after a while you give them rare candy, which also increases their friendship, and they'll like evolve, and then it's done. So I really did not like the baby forms, but I loved the breeding. Especially when you get to teach them new moves that they normally wouldn't learn to begin with. On to the types, because not only with the new evolutions, the new Pokemon, and the baby forms, they now have new elements, which they introduced Steel and Dark. They had not really demonic type creatures, but they've introduced dark type like Sneasel, who was kind of like a weasel, and he was the type that was a little tricksy, like a little trickster. And then they also had a crow with the witch's hat. So that was also pretty cool. And then they had Steel, who was the upgraded version of Rock. It was like Rock is up here where not much can hurt it. And then you have Steel up here, which has less stuff that can hurt it. I mean, only fire and fighting ground. So you have those types that not many people use. Where Rock is weak to fighting, water, grass, ground. And a lot of people use both water and grass because those were the starters. That's what made the first gym either extremely easy or extremely hard in the first gen. So, onto the point. My favorite Steel was Steelix. I do believe I mentioned that I did like Onix a little. He was fast for being a rock Pokemon. But then he became Steelix, and he traded his speed for his defense. First Steelix I trained, at level 55, his defense was 400. And that was far overdoing everyone else's highest stats. It's like Gyarados' strength was in the 300, and Alakazam's special was in 300, so it's like his defense being 400 and his special defense being alright. And I trained him a bit as an Onix so he would gain his speed. And he just rocked the field. And he became my second favorite, in fact. The Dark, it was almost a hard choice. I didn't like Sneasel too well, but I liked Murkrow. But my favorite, because they threw fire in with the type, has to be Houndoom. I mean, he's like a hellhound. And that was freaking awesome. Pokemon went a little dark this time, and that was cool. So, with additions of new Pokemon and new evolutions, I've updated my list of favorite Pokemon. Because now Dragon and Ghost have new contenders. Dragon had just only like a small handful of new characters. I was hoping Gyarados was going to get a new evolution, but he didn't. So, Seadra, who was also kind of cool, and he got a new evolution. With one of the new ways to evolve, you attach Dragon Scale and he evolves into Kingdra. And I thought that was pretty cool. I liked Kingdra. I actually used him against Elite Four. And there was only one other ghost type that was added, which made me sad because you caught him at the very end. And it was Misdrevious. I really liked how it was talking about how it turns itself invisible and pulls on kids' hairs to hear them scream. I did not use Misdrevious until Pokemon Rumble, when they forced you to use a bunch of the not-so-popular Pokemon from the first 3 gens. But they had Misdrevious, and I was using Misdrevious, and it kicked so much butt in that game. I used it till the end of the game. Still, this is like the first game that you could breed. And with the breeding, you could start at level 5. So you got all that time to bring up your stats. You breed a new Pokemon, throw the Macho Brace on them at level 5, train the crap out of them. I played Gold version, so the first legendary that I caught was Huo. And I used him as my Fire Flying Pokemon, and he was pretty powerful. And catching him at level 40 gave me a lot of time to train him before the Elite Four. So I actually used him very efficiently. Now, bug is another type that I didn't like exactly, because the only types it was good against was psychic and grass. So I did not use bug because I already had enough to go against grass. So my favorite bug was fortress, because they actually had interesting bug Pokemon this time. Before they were basic, but with Pineco, he was a Pinecone who was bug. I thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, you got this what you thought was a grass type, but it actually is a bug type. And then it evolved into a steel bug type. And it looked awesome with the shell. It almost should have been roly-poly, but... So, and it looked awesome. I didn't use him, but he just looked awesome. There's this pattern that I noticed throughout the generations. At the beginning of the game, you always get a Rattata clone and a Pidgey clone. In Gen 2, it wasn't exactly a Pidgey clone, because there was only 2 evolutions. Like, Hoot Hoot and Noctowl. But it was a freaking owl. And owls is one of my favorite birds. And Noctowl kicked ass. Especially when you breed it. So, I used Noctowl as my flying until I caught Huo. And I was like, I have 2 flying on my team now, and Huo's a really good fire, so I had to kind of knock Noctowl off my team for Huo. But he was still pretty cool. And I had the same problem with my Psychic. Though I still used my favorite Psychic as my Psychic on my team, which is Xatu. And there's one thing that has been a huge repetition in my Pokemon choices, and that's the dark kind of Pokemon. Xatu wasn't exactly a dark, but like dark looking, but it almost reminded me of like a totem pole. I mean, the bottom part looked like it had eyes, and it looked like an actual like face on a totem pole, and then you had his upper body, which was the bird part, and he's always like moved like this on the 64 games. So he was like straight as a board. And he was kind of powerful, but I do think in the end I switched him out. I'm not sure. So, next I will be talking about the 3rd gen, which was my least favorite. So, you'll find out why next vlog. To end with, I would appreciate if you like stumbled upon this and you're like, oh, who is this fool? I would appreciate if you watched some of my other stuff. I have a music video. It's I Touched a Girl. Yes, it's a little stalkerish, but the voice of the song is from a nerd perspective. Which, of course, hi, I'm a nerd. The song was interesting, and it's a parody off of I Kissed a Girl, which also could have been a stalkery, but and I also have a couple animations up. Also, I have a Facebook. Ooh, but I don't do much on Facebook because I like to own your stuff. But follow me on Tumblr. Same name. Reluge. So, stalk me. I don't mind. Comment. I will comment back. And I might actually feature your comment in a comment reading. So, please watch me! Please!